fight like a roaring fight, grit during dreams under stadium lights, sweat and fire, hearts ignite. Evening sports buffet, with the Ginch replay. Highlights while scores collide, it's the RYDER live tonight. Blades drawn, bold on the chalkboard slate. Rivals clash, it's a heavyweight fate. Every second pounding, can't wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm chewing on some milk nuts here, welcome to another edition of Early Evening Sports Buffet with Ginch. I'm Big Ginch right now. We are approaching week number 4. NFL, week number 5, or week number 6, whatever you want to look at it is. College football. Thanks to the band Ginch there. Well, welcome. Coming up at 7:15, Harry Mays will be on, at Harry Mays TU on the Twitter machine, at Locked On Birds Podcast and Squad, at IT_Ding Golf Podcast, hashtag G's podcast, at Crossing Broad. He's also a contributor on at Inside Golf TV and at 1210 WPHT, Kyle and Company. So he'll be joining, talk a little Ryder Cup, maybe some other stuff if he has time. And then at 7:45, Stephen Harris will be on, former Florida Gator, national champion, at Famogan365 on the Twitter. Netflix Swamp Kings, hashtag 93, national and SEC champion 2006. Former NFL Bronco, straight out of the Grove 305, co-host Champs Corner, at High Top Sport, also on the Twitter machine. Let's delve into some news and notes, shall we? Simple music, simple intro music. Down there in Tennessee, Mr. Brian Callahan is insisting that they traded away Jarvis Brownlee Jr. He's saying it doesn't signal a Titans fire sale. When they say that it doesn't signal something, it signals something. Brownlee and a 2026 7th round draft pick to New York Jets yesterday for a 2026 6th rounder could deliver a variety of messages for the Titans, according to Jerron Davenport. Callahan doesn't see it that way. He said, I don't think so, in reference to the fire sale. This was a one-off situation and unique to what it was. There's front offices around the league from now until the deadline that call everybody in football, and they are all looking for different things. So I can't say whether or not there'll be something more or nothing more. It's hard for me to make any predictions about that or stake any statements about it. What the fuck did he just say? A lot of gobbledygook in there. Look, Titans are 0-3. They're sort of in a rebuild with Cam Ward. They do have some pieces, but they don't have the horses to compete. Hopefully they can get it turned around for Titans fans' sake. But look, they've been through it they had a quarterback in Tannehill. They did well. Now Will Levis was a disaster. Now it's up to Cam Ward. Cam Ward seems to be the savior. But a la Drake May in New England, they're still going to need to get some pieces around. So Jaden Daniels says that he feels good, but it's not up to him. It's up to the doctors. So we'll see if he plays this week. The Commanders need him. They didn't need him last week, obviously, because the Raiders stink. Doctors clear him to play, then he comes back. But obviously it's not up to him. It's up to the doctors. He says he feels fine. What else are you going to say? He wants to be out there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. The SEC came out with their who is going to be on their schedule as far as a rotation goes. So teams that they're going to play year in and year out every year. You can go online to take a look at if you're an SEC fan, if you have a team from the SEC that you root for, you can go on there and look. Reported by the Associated Press. LSU and Alabama will not play next year. It's the first time since 1970. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not right. I'm looking at something different. It'll be the first time since 1970 that the LSU Tigers will not play the Florida Gators with this new schedule, since they've gone to 9 conference games. And the SEC came out for each team who they're going to play year in and year out. And then there'll be a rotation who they play. I saw a little bit of it. And again, you can go online and take a look at it. I should have pulled up it for some of the teams. But, you know, I know some fans aren't happy about it. You want to keep rivalries. But look, in the world of college football today, the state that it's in, nothing surprises me anymore at all. Philadelphia Eagles outside linebacker Nolan Smith Jr. will be out through the Eagles' November 2nd bye. He strained his triceps in the victory against the Rams. He is being placed. Smith, cornerback Jacorian Bennett, and rookie wide receiver Darius Cooper are all being placed on the IR, sidelining all for at least the next 4 games. But it looks like they're going to be cautious with Smith. Kind of a blow to their defense. We'll see how they curtail their defense going forward. Colin Morikawa said that he hopes Browns fans get absolutely chaotic for the Ryder Cup. You saw Ian Poulter basically stating, in America, they're the only ones that act the way they do. When they play over in Europe, the Europeans are respectful. Okay. If you've watched some of the Ryder Cups in the past, especially in the 80s and throughout the 90s, the European fans were just as vocal and, I'm not going to say obnoxious, but just as passionate. So I don't know where Ian Poulter gets his stuff from. Maybe he just wants to start shit. I don't know. Morikawa said, quote unquote, I hope Friday it's just absolute chaos. I'm all for it. We want it. We want to use that to our advantage. Look, anybody that's followed the Ryder Cup over the last 30 years, the Europeans, for the most part, dominated. Way back when it was the Americans. Ever since the early 90s up until now, it's sort of been lopsided. On paper, and I will ask Harry about this, I mean, on paper, the Americans should have the advantage. But we've seen this before with Ryder Cup teams. It seems like the Americans at times always seem to have the advantage. And then it comes down to putting. And then I don't know if the Americans have a fever when it comes to putting in the Ryder Cup. I don't know if there's an illness. But let me ask, he's in the green room. I see him. Let me just get to do it real quick here. I got to throw this in here. Let's bring him on.
4.
That's basically what you hear on the golf course every time I am golfing. There he is, Mr. Harry Mays. I haven't talked to him in a while. Harry, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Great to speak with you, and such a big week of sports with not
Yes.
only the Ryder Cup, but you got the last week of the baseball season with a lot of drama. You got a great week in college football coming up with a couple of key games, and of course the NFL. So it's a great time to be a sports fan.
Indeed, it is, sir. Look, the Ryder Cup. On paper, I just said it seems like the Americans have the advantage. It's on our home soil. It's at Bethpage Black. But over the last 30 years, Harry, I've seen this before. We always sort of seem to have an advantage going into it. And then for some odd reason, I don't know if they just choke, if it gets in their head. I don't know. What say you about this year's Ryder Cup? Obviously, the Americans have the number one player in the world, Scott Scheffler, but that doesn't mean anything. It always comes down to putting, and it always seems like the Europeans have the advantage in that case.
Well, yeah, I mean, this European team is pretty stacked. I mean, I think they're a much deeper team than the United States team. They've got 11 guys with experience in the Ryder Cup. There's only one rookie on the squad this year in Rasmus Højgaard, and you look at the Americans, they got four rookies. Now, these guys are battle tested playing on the PGA Tour week in and week out, but it's a big difference, playing in your first Ryder Cup. I mean, it's going to be really, I think that's one of the big storylines to really, watch out and see how this unfolds is how these four rookies for the USA team, how much they're used in the first 2 days, number one, if they're used in alternate shot, with the foursomes, which typically Europe owns that category because they're just better at it. They seem to play better as a team, which alternate shots is really a team event. And of course they play alternate shot growing up over in Europe. That's, if you played at your local club, a lot of times these guys, you would play alternate shot if you lived overseas. So we don't do that here. So it's kind of a foreign sort of segment for our guys, and they don't do it nearly as well. But the Americans, I saw in some of these sports books, 150, minus 150 to minus 190, depending on where you get it. That's a big favorite. And to me, when you look at the team on paper, I don't think that's warranted at all. So they must be really factoring in the home soil, number one, and number two, not only home soil, but New York and Bethpage Black.
So where do you think Keegan's going to go? Who do you think he's going to pair it with? Who? Give me some sort of like pair-ups that you'd like to see as far as pair-ups go up against the Europeans.
Well, I think the two that are really interesting to see what he's going to do is going to be who plays with Scotty and who plays with Bryson. I think those are the two that are really most interesting to me. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele are going to play together. And if you're betting on the U.S. team, you're a U.S. fan, you had better hope that Patrick Cantlay can pull the Xander out of Xander Schauffele because he hasn't been Xander this year. He started off with the injury. Then he and his wife are expecting a child, which they've now had. And, there's a lot of, I've never had that, but I know there's a lot of drama and a lot of, anxiety and things that go on with all that. So that may lead or may, tell us why he really wasn't playing like himself throughout the entire season. But hopefully Patrick Cantlay, who is a genius in these events. Patrick Cantlay is 15-6-1 in team events, President's Cup and Ryder Cup combined. I mean, he's kind of a quirky guy that the American fan base really has a hard time figuring out whether they can get behind him. He's a little odd, but man, is he good in these events, and he can putt. But the Scheffler thing, like I'm thinking Russell Henley will be playing some with Scotty Scheffler, and I think that's a really good pairing. Temperament-wise, personality-wise, Henley is he's like a bulldog. He went to Georgia, and he really plays golf kind of like a bulldog. He's one of those guys you'd really hate to play against if you were at that level, because it's just like how he won the event at Bay Hill when he beat Colin Morikawa. Morikawa had the lead, and Henley on the 16th hole, the final par 5, chips in from off the green, and the whole event changed, and Morikawa loses, Henley wins, and the trajectory of both of those players went in opposite directions from then on back in March. But I think he'll be a great teammate for Scheffler. I think Scheffler can pretty much play with anybody, to be honest with you. He's not suffocating like Tiger Woods was. although he's, right now playing at a level similar to what we saw Tiger Woods playing. But he doesn't have that kind of persona and that intimidation thing where it almost intimidates your partner. I don't get that from him. But I'm thinking we're going to see him with Henley. The interesting one, though, is who do they put with Bryson? And I'm hoping they put Bryson out first on the first tee, and he hits one of those tee shots like he did at Bay Hill years ago, where he took over the pond and he's standing there going like this as the ball landed on dry land, and it was just something to see. He would be like throwing a match into a gas can on that crowd if he gets on that first tee and hits one of those shots over that dog leg over the trees. So I'm hoping it's him, and I'm thinking we might see him with Justin Thomas. I think that would be a really good pairing.
Dylan Spalding checking in. Evening, gents. Thanks for checking in, Dylan. Look, the Americans haven't had like that little fire hydrant spark plug since Patrick Reed in 2016. Look, for the Europeans, Shane Lowry is going to sort of be that spark plug. Rory is really not that kind of guy. Who on either team is going to be the little fire hydrant spark plug for both squads, do you think?
Well, sort of the Captain America kind of guy for the U.S. team is, I think, what you're saying when you're referring to Patrick Reed back in 2016 at Hazeltine. Yeah, that was something to see. Obviously you don't have Jordan Spieth, you don't have Patrick Reed, you don't have Keegan Bradley playing. Keegan Bradley would have probably been that guy had he been on the team. But that's an interesting one. I'm thinking it could be Bryson, and it could be like a JT. I'm thinking, either one of those two guys. As far as for Europe, I'm wondering who's going to get most of the heckling from the New York crowd. My thought is it's going to be Jon Rahm, because Jon Rahm went to live. Jon Rahm is a guy who likes to be liked, and he knows he's not liked by a lot of golf fans right now because of his taking of the money and going to live. I think he has a lot of regret for that too, in a way, except when he looks at his bank account. But he is one of those guys where if he thinks a putt's going to go left to right and it doesn't go left to right. He stands there looking at it. He's got rabbit ears. He hears stuff that nobody else hears when he's on the tee, and he hits a bad shot and it's all of a sudden it's somebody in the gallery's fault. That kind of stuff is the New York fans are going to seize on that. And they will seize on it quickly, just like they would here in Philadelphia, if the event were going here. I'm thinking he's going to be the guy, the targeted guy by the New York crowd. As far as the spark plug guy, you mentioned Rory's really not that guy. I think he could be this week. I really do, because this is sort of the last thing that Rory wants to accomplish, is winning a Ryder Cup on American soil. And he knows he's the most popular player in the world. Scotty's the best player in the world. Rory's the most popular. Bryson might be that guy if he'd have stayed on the PGA Tour, but he's not. And I think this is the last thing that Rory wants to, the last box he wants to check on his lifetime resume, is being the guy to lead Europe to a win, not only on American soil, but in New York.
You don't think the fans are going to pepper Rory?
Oh, yeah, they will. Oh, they will. Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's going to eat it up, too. I think you saw what he was doing at Hazeltine when he was going up against Patrick Reed. He's putting his, doing the Allen Iverson hand up to the ear thing and sort of like bring it on. I mean, I think he embraces this kind of stuff. He didn't originally when he was a young player back in 2012, 2013, back in that era, but he's picked up on that now, and I think he wants this.
What's the is it Cantlay who does the wiggles? Is it Patrick? Who's the one that does he just constantly like wiggles back and forth?
Cantlay does a lot of stuff with his feet over the ball. He does a lot of footwork.
What's the over under on the footwork?
Oh my God, yeah. with big putts on the backside of that golf course on a Sunday and a big singles match, there's going to take the over, whatever it is.
Because if he goes up against a single, it's going to irritate.
Oh, absolutely.
The person he's playing. And he knows what he's going to be doing.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. Keegan was that kind of guy too. He has a lot of fidgety kind of mannerisms to him that I think would drive an opponent nuts. especially when you go up against a guy, that likes to play quickly. Like it used to annoy Koepka because Koepka is one of the fastest players out there. He's not on the team this year,
Yeah.
but if I was Team Europe and Koepka was on the team, I might match him up in some way again with a guy who's really slow and deliberate because it's going to annoy him.
Give me 2 dark horses for each squad that we should watch out for.
Dark horses. Shane Lowry, I look at it as a dark horse in this because his record isn't great. He's 2-3-1 in Ryder Cups. If he plays one of the days, Thursday, Friday, and one of the 4-baller foursomes with Rory, I think that could be really big. They've played as a team before. They've won in New Orleans at the Zurich as a team. So there's really good chemistry there. He's plus 8,000 for most points scored on the European side, and that's really juicy. The guy's really good with his irons. His approach, he's strokes gained approach, he's third in the PGA Tour. His iron game is unbelievable, which you absolutely need at this golf course. And he hits it in the fairway. He's not the longest of drivers, but he's pretty accurate. He hits that low bullet cut, and if he can get that thing working and get it in the fairway, get the putter rolling, he could be a dark horse with a juicy number. For the Americans, I think you'd have to look at one of the rookies, whether it be Russell Henley playing with Scotty Scheffler or J.J. Spawn, who I think is a guy that not a lot of people are looking at because, he's sort of one of these new guys where you're like, a lot of golf fans still don't even know who he is, to be honest with you, the casual golf fan. He turned into a different guy from March of this year to June. When he lost in that playoff to Rory at the Players, he had no chance. He was in over his head. The moment was too big for him, and it obviously showed on the 17th hole. Transfer that to Oakmont, the hardest golf course on the planet, and this guy takes down the U.S. Open, and he was so good for all 4 days there. He became a different guy, and I think he's that guy more so, than anything else. So I think he could be a guy that could surprise for the American side.
To the casual golf fan that's going to tune in, Bethpage Black. Look, hard course. It rewards accuracy. You have to be accurate off the tee. You've got to be precise on your approach shots. So when you're looking at Bethpage Black, does it favor either squad? Look, everybody's played on this course. As far as the pros go. So I don't really think it favors anybody. Look, Bryson might overpower it with his driving, although look, sometimes he gets in trouble when he's biting off more than he can chew. So when you look at the course itself, Bethpage Black, what does it present to the players as far as obstacles go?
Well, the length, the carries off the tee, they pinch in these fairways with a lot of bunkering, big fairway bunkers that you don't want to be in. There's a lot of raised green complexes that you can't run the ball up from the fairway. There's like rough between the fairway and the green complex on a lot of these holes. So it's like it's all carry. It's target golf to these greens. Now the greens are not that devastating though. They're pretty flat. There's not a lot of contouring. I think guys that really aren't the best of putters can have good putting days at Bethpage Black because of the way the greens are. But you got to stay out of the sand. The rough is not going to be that bad. It's not going to be U.S. Open type rough. They're gonna trim it down to somewhat of a manageable length. Now they're going to get rain on Thursday. A lot of rain, upward to maybe about an inch of rain. So the golf course is going to play soft, at least on the first day. I expect a lot of birdies, and a lot of firing at pins on those first two segments on Friday because of how soft the golf course probably will be. I don't know that it favors really any one side. To be honest, like you said, a lot of these European guys have played here before. They play on the PGA Tour. They're used to these kinds of golf courses. We talked about Lowry a minute ago. Lowry finished T8 at this golf course in the PGA back in 2019. They played in big events, most of these guys, at this golf course. So I think it's just going to be a great place for fans to just witness this both in person and on television. It's going to present so well on television.
All right, Harris, what's your prediction?
I bet Europe back in April at plus 150, and I just took them again at plus 170. I can't lay 150 to 190 on an American squad that I think is really, with 4 rookies and with 2 guys who are pivotal players for the Americans, Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa, who are not playing their best golf and have not played great golf this season. Can that turn around in this event? Absolutely it can. These guys are that good. But if you're going to ask me to make the wager, when I did, I'm taking plus money and I'm going to take Europe.
Okay. A couple more minutes, I'll get you out of here. Philadelphia Phillies, we're rolling it down here. Playoffs. High hopes. High hopes. I know the Brewers are tough. The Dodgers are tough. Look, the Brewers always choke in the playoffs. The Dodgers always seem to pick it up in the playoffs, so they've choked in the playoffs recently. So when you're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies, look, you got to have pitching. Dodgers are saying farewell to Kershaw. You never know what you're going to get with the Brewers. The Mets have shit the bed like they always do. So when you look at the Phillies, what are you giving the Phillies chances come October and November?
Well, I do give them a pretty good chance to get to the World Series. Simply, even without Wheeler, which is such a shame. You're not going to have Zach Wheeler there. It'd be great. I'd feel a whole lot better about it if I knew what I was going to get out of Aaron Nola. I mean, that's really like the mystery card. Trey Turner, that injury, that obviously hurts, but they've got so many other guys in this lineup that if they play to their capability, they can put up enough runs. And you got Ranger Suarez, you got Sanchez, you got some good pitchers on that team even without Zach Wheeler. And you mentioned, some of these other clubs, have shown in the biggest of spots in the playoffs to not play their best baseball. So I do give them a really good chance. I don't know about, going up against the American League, but we'll take our chances there. But yeah, I just hope the Mets miss the playoffs. Wouldn't that be great for a $340 million payroll to miss the playoffs? I would have a lot of fun with that.
I mean, Christ, look, I said in August, look, it's going to take a major collapse by the Tigers to lose the division.
15 and a half games. Yeah.
They've collapsed.
Yeah. They're
not going to do anything in the playoffs the way they're playing. Before I get you out of here, the Eagles, great come from behind win.
Unbelievable.
They snatched defeat away from victory. All the special teams coaches for the Rams should be fired. When you look at this Eagles squad, look, we all know you could have a Super Bowl hangover. When it comes to the Super Bowl loser, they do have a hangover. But when it comes to this Eagles team, they're battle tested. Look, maybe the Packers or the Rams might challenge them. I still don't think the Commanders are there yet.
Not yet.
The Lions, I still have questions about their defense. Tampa Bay, now Mike Evans is hurt.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield's already dinged up. Where do you see this Eagles team going? They have a great shot to get to the Super Bowl, but is it Super Bowl or bust this year for the Eagles?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're in that window, man. Okay. I mean, you got the best roster in the NFL, and if they can stay, away from some key injuries, I think they absolutely can get there. But it is really interesting though, because in these first 3 weeks, they've gotten a key play out of their defense or their special teams to save the day. It was the fumble of Sanders fumbling with Dallas deep in the red zone. You got the interception from Makuba that could have been a touchdown to Kelsey, bounced off his arm. You're not used to seeing stuff like that out of number 87. And then you got the double block last week, which was really remarkable. I just wonder why it took until the second half of the third game of the year to incorporate number 11 in the offense. I do post-game shows. I do weekly shows about the Eagles every week. And we've been talking about this for weeks about, what are we going to see out of this offensive coordinator? And thus far, I have not been impressed. I don't know if Jalen and everybody else went AWOL and went rogue in the second half and just said, screw it, we're going to do our own thing, or what happened. But that kind of Eagle, the offense you saw in that third and fourth quarter is what we should have been seeing from, number one, week one. I just don't understand it. If they can get that with that offense, and if Lane Johnson, of course, needs to get healthy again. I don't know that there's anybody that can really stop him.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. Harry Mays. Harry, I know you'll be tuned in all weekend.
Oh yeah.
To the Ryder Cup. I will be tuned in. I will be watching college football from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then it all takes place again on Sunday from 1 p.m. until I pass out at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. So, Harry, enjoy the Ryder Cup, enjoy the weekend's festivities, and have a good one, my man.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Harry. Yep, no problem. Harry Mays, ladies and gentlemen. Haven't talked to him in a while, but good friend. He's always been good about coming on. And look, the Ryder Cup, again, until I see it out of the American squad, I have to go with the Europeans. Because they're not European on your boots. It's the Europeans. I didn't really get into golf until about 1992. I started following Freddie Couples. And I don't play golf well. I just like to get out and enjoy the day. But for the last probably 30 years, the Europeans just seem to have had a grasp on the Ryder Cup. I don't know if the Americans don't care as much as the Europeans do. It used to be that the Americans and the Europeans both cared. But ever since the Americans won it back in '99, it just seems like it's shifted over toward the Europeans as far as them caring a lot more about the Ryder Cup. It could be wrong, but it just seems that way. It just seems like for the Americans, it's not as important as it once was. Like for the Europeans, when Seve Ballesteros, Jose Maria Olazabal, Colin Montgomery were there, Nick Faldo, it just meant a lot more. So, but I've got to go with the Europeans. So, hopefully for the American side, at their at Bethpage Black and the fans, the Americans will put in a good showing. Other news and notes, as I just pull up some comments here. Sister Jean, who's 106, by the way. She's retired from her official campus duties. At 106, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I might be still doing this. I don't know what her secret is, maybe genetics, but she is 106. She has served as the campus minister and chaplain of Loyola of Chicago's Ramblers men's basketball team beginning in 1991. God bless that woman. God bless her, 106 years old. I'm just happy to make it to 80, as I'm sure most people are. Major League Baseball. Yes, I mentioned earlier that the Detroit Tigers have shit the bed. American League East, Blue Jays, Yankees have both clinched. Although the Yankees and the Blue Jays are in it for a division crown. Red Sox probably not going to win the division. They're still in the battle for a wild card. Yankees only a game back at the Blue Jays. But the Guardians and the Detroit Tigers are now tied at 85 and 72 apiece. Royals, Twins, White Sox have all been eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, at one point, the Detroit Tigers led this division by 15 and a half games. They were the best team in baseball up until the All-Star break. And it's fallen apart badly. Out there in the West, the Seattle Mariners have clinched the playoff spot. Houston Astros 4 games back. The Rangers, Athletics, and Angels have been eliminated. So the final wild card is coming down to the Red Sox. Well, Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox, Guardians, Tigers, Mariners, Astros. In the National League, the East is all but sewn up with Philadelphia Phillies winning that division. The Brewers are going to go on, and they've clinched. The Phillies and the Brewers have both clinched their divisions. And out West, Dodgers lead the Padres by 2. Wild card is coming down, and the Cubs have clinched, by the way, a wild card. So the wild card, the final 2 spots, or the final spot, sorry, Coming down to the Mets, Marlins, Reds, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, or Giants. It's going to be a fun last couple games here. We go to scores from yesterday. Should have been Tuesday. Orioles beat the Rays 6-0. Guardians beat the Tigers 5-2. Marlins beat the Phillies 6-5. Yankees beat the White Sox 3-2. Red Sox beat the Blue Jays 4-3. 4-1. Braves over the Nats 3-2. Mets over the Cubs 9-7. Twins over the Rangers 4-1. Royals over the Angels 8-4. Mariners over the Rockies 4-3. Diamondbacks beat the Dodgers 5-4. Padres beat the Brewers 7-0. Cardinals over the Giants 9-8. Athletics over the Stros 5-1. On the slate this evening, earlier today, the Nationals beat the Braves 4-3, and the Brewers beat the Padres 3-1. Right now, ongoing in the end of the third, the Rays are up on the Orioles 3-zip. Top of the second, the Tigers and the Guardians are scoreless. Mid-fourth, Pirates on top of the Reds 1-0. Bottom of the third, Marlins and the Phillies are tied 1 apiece. Top of the second, White Sox and the Yankees 0-0. Top of the second, Red Sox up on the Blue Jays 3-0. Later on, Twins at the Rangers. The Mets are at the Cubs. The Royals are at the Angels. The Rockies are at the Mariners. Dodgers at the Diamondbacks. Cardinals at the Giants. Excuse me. WNBA scores last night. Next games aren't until Friday. The Mercury beat the Lynx 89-83. That series is tied at 1 apiece. And the Aces hammered the Fever 90-68. And that series is tied at 1 apiece. On Friday, Aces will be at the Fever, and the Lynx will be at the Mercury. Some college football news that I did not go over on Monday because some of this is updated. The future of the college football playoff format remains undecided after the committee met, according to Heather Dinich. She said the group met for more than 4 hours in a regularly scheduled business meeting, but spent only about 20 minutes talking about the format for 2026 and beyond. College football playoff leaders have a contractual obligation to let ESPN know by December 1st. They want to expand the field, if they want to expand the field beyond 12 teams. They're going to. I think it'll go to 16. They were talking about going from 12 to 14 for a couple of years, then going to 16. Dumbass idea. If it's already at 12, just go to 16. But then if it goes to 16, that's it. There should be no more than a 16-team college football playoff in the college football playoff era. No more than 16, because then it's just asinine. And I've said this before, and I understand it's all about money. But if I was in charge, 16 teams, there's no automatic qualifiers. I'm sorry. There's none. I'm tired of hearing about that shit. If you win your conference championship, great. Good for you. Fantastic. College Football Playoff Committee comes up with their rankings after halfway through the season. And then at the end of the year, when everything is done and all games are played, the committee comes up with the best 16 teams that they think is the best 16 teams. And then they seed them. The automatic qualifying bullshit, I don't even like it in college basketball. That's just me. I wouldn't even 64 teams, the 2 playing games are dumb. Play the season, no automatic qualifiers. The committee picks the best 64 teams, and then they seed them. I went over the whole Mike Gundy thing. Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is going to start versus LSU. There were thoughts that he wouldn't play that game. but now it looks like he's going to play. Alabama's Marion Latham, he suffered a neck injury in practice on Tuesday. He has been hospitalized. That's not good. Hopefully a speedy recovery. Gators cornerback Dijon Johnson, he is to miss the rest of the season. The knee injury, I need surgery. Excuse me. It doesn't get any worse for the Gators. It just continues to get worse. Also, sad news, former Auburn star Bengals pro running back Rudy Johnson has passed away at 45. Cause of death was not known. I remember watching him at Auburn, late 90s, way early 2000s. Good running back, by the way, a beast. Thoughts and prayers out to the family and friends. And I said the SEC has come out with some of their future schedules for 2026 to 2029. And here we go. Some of the annual opponents that the teams will play in year and out. Like Alabama, the SEC is keeping Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State on the yearly slate for the SEC as far as Alabama goes. Like Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt will be the three mainstays on their schedule. Florida, it's going to be Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina. I don't know why they have Kentucky in there. It should have been Tennessee and somebody else. Georgia, the three main yearly opponents in the SEC will be Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina. LSU has Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Oklahoma, it'll be Missouri, Ole Miss, and Texas. Ole Miss will be LSU, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. The Kentucky and Vanderbilt one, I don't understand. Vanderbilt because there's in-state. That's not a rivalry. Texas will be Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. So if you want to go take a look, you can go to ESPN and just look at the article. And if you root for somebody in the SEC, you can see their next scheduled opponents in conference for the next 4 years, 2026 to 2029. You know, I was going to save my soccer picks for tomorrow for the Premier League, but I'm just going to pick them now. Again, I could dedicate more time to soccer, but there's so many friggin' leagues, it would take me forever to go through them. This Saturday, really a good slate, a main slate. At 7:30 a.m. on the USA Network and Universal, Brentford will be hosting Man United. I will go Man United 2, Brentford 1 at 10 a.m. on Peacock. Chelsea will be hosting Brighton. Again, I will go Chelsea 2, Brighton 1. 10 a.m. on Peacock, Crystal Palace will host Liverpool. I will go Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace 1. 10 a.m. Leeds United host Bournemouth. I am going to go 1-1 tie here. 10 a.m. Man City will host Burnley. I will go 3-0 Man City. 12:30 p.m. on USA Net and Universal, Nottingham Forest hosts Sunderland. I will go 2-2. And then at 3 p.m. on USA Net, Tottenham will host Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton will probably not score. I will go Tottenham 3, Wolverhampton nothing. Then on Sunday, 9 a.m. on USA Net, Aston Villa will be hosting Fulham. And then a half an hour later, the Vikings will be playing the Steelers. Nobody in Dublin gives a shit about American football. They just don't. And if they tell you they do, they don't. I will go Fulham 2, Aston Villa 1. And then at 11:30 a.m. on USA Net, Newcastle host Arsenal. I think Arsenal will win that game 2-0. Then on Monday at 3 p.m. on USA Net and Universal, Everton host West Hampton. I'll go Everton 2, West Ham 1. Again, hopefully Stephen Harris will be coming on in any moment. Former Gator, national champion, SEC champion. That 2006, 2017 probably might be the best Gator football team of all time. Some will argue the 96-97 squad. They're up there, as is the 2008-2009 squad. But a lot of people picked Ohio State against Florida in the national championship game. And if anybody watched that national championship game, Ohio State got their ass kicked. As did Ohio State against Florida. Well, didn't get their ass kicked in the NCAA tournament that year in the championship game. And there was a Greg Oden. Greg Oden was the Kenny Walker. Was it Kenny Walker that had the leg issues for Kentucky way back in the day? Might have been Kenny Skywalker. So hopefully Stephen Harris will be on soon. Again, with Major League Baseball, this is going to be, I think there's only like 6 games left. 5 or 6. So much up for grabs. Again, at 8:05, the Mets are at the Cubs in a huge game. For the teams that are still battling for a wild card, every game is huge. Even if the Mets do make the playoffs, a lot of Mets fans have told me they're not going to do anything. But you never know. That's why you play the season to get into the playoffs, and anything goes because everybody's record is 0-0. Just like in the NFL or NBA or what, it's just position yourself during the regular season to get to the postseason, and then everybody wipes the slate clean. Period. And again, with the Ryder Cup, Bethpage Black is a very, very difficult course for us. You know, the amateur, the hacker. For these guys, they make it look like they're just drinking Gatorade. But again, just the history over the last 30 years, you have to take the Europeans. And I'm glad Harry brought that up about Shane Lauer, 8,000-1, as far as scoring the most points in the Ryder Cup. You put $1 on that, and he covers scoring the most points in the Ryder Cup. You're walking away with $8,000. You put $10 on it, that's 80 grand. But it never, like somebody like me who has no luck with that shit, I could put 10 cents on it to win $800, and it'll never happen. Just like with FanDuel or DraftKings, I put in my little 5 or 10 cent teams for fantasy football. Put your team in to win $500, you know, and I go through all the research, which defenses, fantasy points per game, defense by position, you put in the quarterback. Okay, let's say the Chicago Bears give up the most points to quarterbacks fantasy, you know, and I'll take Geno Smith because Geno Smith is playing the Bears this week. He won't score shit. He'll score like 10 points. That's the kind of luck I don't know about you out there. If you do that much research or you just say, screw it, I'm just going to guess at this. I'm going to just throw in a team, and if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. But that's what it seems like. Again, the WNBA. And as far as the NFL this weekend, I'll go over the schedule again. The games that I am most interested in. Obviously at 9:30 a.m. in Dublin on Sunday. On Thursday, tomorrow night, I'm not so much interested in Seattle and Arizona. I get it. It's an NFC West matchup. They could have ramifications along down the line, but I don't know. Maybe it'll turn out to be a good game. I have no idea. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, I'm interested in just to see how Pittsburgh defense is going to be and how Minnesota is going to play after that shellacking of the Bengals. Can Carson Wentz keep that up? Can the team keep that up? Another game I'm interested in is the Cleveland-Detroit game, just from the standpoint of Cleveland's defense is superb. I want to see how Detroit's offense stacks up against that defense. I have a feeling Cleveland might keep this close. The Chargers and the Giants. We are ushering in the Jackson Dart Cam Scatterbo era for the Giants. I want to see how that goes against the Chargers defense. Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, I'm interested in just for the standpoint is Philadelphia has not had a lot of success the last couple of years going down to Tampa, but Tampa's banged up right now. Colts Rams is an interesting game. Are the Rams going to be flat coming off that heartbreaker against the Eagles? Can the Colts continue to keep it churning? Baltimore, Kansas City. Again, I'm still not sold on my Chiefs. I know they beat the Giants, and then Baltimore had that, shootout with the Lions, and the Ravens had questions. Of course, everybody will be tuned into the Green Bay Dallas game to see how bad Dallas's defense plays, what they're going to do to try and turn it around. And then Monday night, Cincinnati at Denver, I'm interested in. Denver sitting at 1-2. Thought they'd be a little bit better. And then Cincinnati, how are they going to be coming off that shellacking to the Vikings? Might have to schedule Steven. Hopefully he'll pop on here in the next few minutes. If not, then I will have to close it out and we will have to reschedule. Some updated baseball scores here. I'll go over some of the key ones. Top of the third, Tigers and the Guardians are still scoreless. Pirates are up on the Reds 1-0 in the fifth. Reds need to win that. Phillies up on the Marlins 3-1. Bottom of the second right now. The White Sox up on the Yanks 1-0. And the Red Sox up on the Blue Jays 3-0 in a pivotal game for both teams. Blue Jays trying to staying ahead of the Yanks. Twins Rangers will have ramifications for the Rangers if they lose. Mets Cubs. Both teams need to win that one. Dodgers Diamondbacks, crucial game. Cardinals Giants, as far as the wild card goes, crucial game. And the Astros play the Athletics. Astros need to win that to stay in the hunt for the wild card. And again, hopefully Stephen Harris will pop on here in the next few minutes. I normally don't do this for the preseason, but just for shits and giggles. They are playing preseason hockey games. Last night there was a full slate. In overtime, the Bruins beat the Rangers 5-4. The Red Wings beat the Blackhawks 3-2. Sabres beat the Blue Jackets 2-1. The Devils over the Islanders 6-2. Canadians over the Flyers 6-2. Devils over the Islanders 6-2. Canadians over the Flyers 4-2. Senators over the Leafs 3-2. Lightning over the Predators 3-2. Oilers beat the Jets 3-2. Stars beat the Wild 3-2 in overtime. Flames over the Kraken 4-1, and the Kings beat the Golden Knights 3-1. Tonight, just a handful of games. Hurricanes beat the Panthers 2-0. The Penguins and the Blue Jackets tied 1 apiece. Kraken beat the Kraken and the Oilers will drop the puck at 9 p.m. 10 o'clock Kings, Ducks, 10 o'clock Flames, the Nuts. I think I'm going to end it there. I mean, I'll have to reschedule Stephen Harris. Hopefully everything is okay, obviously, but look, he's in the midst of a college football season. I know he does a lot with the Gators, and he has shows and stuff like that. So maybe he got caught up doing that. So with all that being said, I usually end every show. Practice compassion, practice empathy, and passion for what you do. Hug somebody every once in a while. You might make their day. Tell somebody you love them. You might not get a second chance. For God's sakes, if you see somebody being bullied or they're struggling for whatever, or they're just a hermit and they don't say much, inquire and ask questions about getting help. What can we do to get the person help? Because you might not just be saving their life, you might be saving a bunch of people's lives. I will be back tomorrow on another edition of Early Eating Sports Buffet with the Ginch. Probably be a quick show. Again, we are kicking off week number 4 of the NFL season tomorrow with the Seahawks and the Cardinals, winding it down to Major League Baseball. College football is technically in week 6, but they call it week 5. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited to just kick back, watch college football all day Saturday, watch the pros on Sunday, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Right now, the Hurricanes are up on the Panthers 2-0, and the Penguins and the Blue Jackets tied 1-1. With all that being said, there's only thing left to do. Only one thing left to do. Dandy Don. Oh, wait a minute. There he is. He finally popped in. I was going to end the show, but he finally popped in. Hopefully we have a couple of minutes. Well, I got the ending out of the way. But before I bring him on, I got to play something for him. Let's bring him on. That would be Mr. Stephen Harris.
What's going on, boss man? How you doing?
Here he goes, Gator Trump. Here he goes. Thanks for coming on, my man.
Yeah, man. Look, I looked down. I said, "Oh, snap!" had to run upstairs. My son just started playing youth league, and he's saying his body aching. They've been hitting the sleds and stuff, so had to look after him real quick. Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. Look, let's just get into it here with my beloved Gators football program. Look, Stephen, I've tried to be optimistic over the last 3.5 years, but I can't anymore. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I was
understandably so.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Billy Napier, the hire coming from the South, whatever it is that they call it now.
Sun Belt,
yeah. It's a lot different coaching in the Sun Belt Conference than it is in the SEC. Yeah. He's finding out the hard way. Where has it gone wrong? Look, they started off 2-3 last year, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Then they run the table. So much optimism coming into this year. They played Long Island University, by the way, the very first week. Inexplicably, they lose to South Florida. Then the game against LSU, which they didn't play bad. The defense didn't play bad at all.
Chance to win, yeah.
Can't throw 5 interceptions. And then the game against Miami, didn't play bad. The defense, anyway. Steven, where's it all gone wrong, my man? You look, you're a national championship guy. You won with the Gators in 6 and 7. Yeah. You're an SEC guy. What's happened to my beloved Gators football program here, Steven?
I wish I could tell you. Well, I can't tell you. And I know people don't want to hear it, but you can't miss that much time away from football at the most important position on the field. You just can't do it. Mentally, I feel like he knows what to do But when you're young, you're in the SEC, and we have a big target on our back. Nobody's going to give us that warm up chance. Even when the young guy or LIU's come in, they want to knock us off. So at that position, you can't miss that much time. It doesn't. You don't get time to bond with your receivers, get the chemistry that you need in that regards, and to know what to do when things break down. You can simulate everything you want, but you can't simulate guys reaching at you, grabbing at your ankles, trying to knock balls out your hand, pocket collapsing, and stuff like that. You cannot simulate that stuff. So I would attribute a lot of our unsuccessfulness to time missed by DJ at the quarterback position. And I understand the right people have with the play calling and all of those things, but me, just a person that's been there, I have to look beyond the play call and start and look at the execution, because to me it's always 11 versus 11. No matter what, it's 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. Whatever play we run, whatever the average amount of yards we're supposed to get out of that play, we should be able to get them regardless of the play call. If it's a power and we're supposed to get 1 or 2 yards, we should get 1 or 2. If we're great, we're getting 3 or 4. If it's a hit, we should get whatever the play call it is. And if we're not executing, then it's hard for me to fall straight to the play calling. Now, you can design things, scheme things up, yes, but when you're not executing, that screams at a whole nother level to me from somebody that played the game. You know what I mean? So I would attribute a lot of that to DJ just missed the time missed, bro, to be honest.
Does Napier's message resonate, do you think, still? Look, Oklahoma State got rid of Gundy. Gundy's been there 21 years. So he had success, you know what I mean? But look, Dabo's having trouble at Clemson. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Look, he bought himself another year with the way the Gators ended last year. But something's not working, Steven.
Well, I wouldn't say the message isn't resonate. It'll be if the defense go to slacking off, if they're not still going all out, and you see it in everybody where they're loafing to the ball and stuff, that's indicative of someone losing the locker room and losing the players. When you start seeing loafs on the field, and I've yet to see that. I know they put the work in, and I know it's frustrating for them just to know that all around you guys put in all this work, and that this one spot is just not clicking right now. So it's something to hold on to for them, but it's definitely getting very, very frustrating for them, just for how bad it's actually been. Now you're going to get some bad games and stuff, but you don't expect it to fall apart like it is, how it is. You know what I mean? And so I think if you start seeing lows out of the defense and start translating to that side of the field, then you know that you really lost the locker room. But I think the way they've played, the energy that they played with, I think it's still intact. With this bye week is going to tell how this very next game is our telltale sign of if the locker room is going to fall apart or not. Very winnable game for us. We should win this game by my calculations. But, you know, I calculated a lot of W's for us this year, but it hasn't happened. So I think this game will definitely, you have 2 weeks off of practice time. So if you can't get it done this week, if it doesn't look better, if the offense is not productive, if we're not in a shootout to where we should win this game, you know what I mean? But if you're going to lose it, it better not be because we're not getting no production out of the offense. Let it be on the defense this time if something like that is going to happen. Just to prove that, okay, it was just a glitch in the system this year. It was a very unique offseason, like Billy likes to put it for DJ, and that was just it. So that's my hope. But just looking at the energy of how those guys still played defensively and on the back end with the DBs, Kamani staying in the game, those guys not giving up, looking for an opportunity to change it around, that speaks volumes to the team itself. It just hasn't been clicking, and DJ's been a big part of it. That and people, I just got to go with it. Play calling. And I only say that because there's certain things you can try to do to, okay, I need to. If it's like the last game is championship, you make different calls to try to get that game going. But if you just really believe in what you're doing, you just know it hasn't been clicking in one area, it's hard to just scratch it all and make the receivers in line and everybody adjust to, we just gonna try something to win this game. You don't want to do that as a coach. You want to keep what you've been doing. And for me, offensively, no one complained about the offense of play calling during the spring game. We saw
Right.
what it could look like when those guys had the bodies there. The quarterbacks were stretching the field. I mean, we barely knew who was going to be the number 2 quarterback with the offense that we had. Everybody was happy with Dallas and the production and VB and having those guys. So we saw it there. That wasn't a facade. It's just not clicking. I think a lot. Dallas was not there. Hasn't been there. His energy that he would bring to the game, to me, he's a spark that. Watching that spring game, he caught the ball and he flexed, going into the end. I was like, "Whoa, hold on! You playing against your own teammates now?" Like you like, so that energy gives confidence to your quarterback. It allows him to throw it up in the double coverage, knowing that, hey, I believe he'll catch it over 3 people. So it's like those little things like that can help him out. And I don't know where Dallas stands coming out of this offseason, but I hope we can have him back going into this game and with what Vernell brings to the game and Trey, I believe it helps open up the offense some more.
You're a defensive guy,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to ask.
Yeah,
when you're on the sideline as a defense and you see the offense is struggling and you see DJ's throwing 5 picks, what runs through your minds, my man?
It's tough because I haven't been in a position where I had a young quarterback taking the helm. So as a senior in my position, we had Chris Lee and we had Tebow. So the camaraderie was there, the dependability was there. It wasn't nothing I really needed to say. But it doesn't feel good. So all you can do is really encourage them, like go up, shake them up. But when it's the quarterback, that's struggling like that, as a defender, is nothing you really can see. You don't know their responsibilities. You don't know the reads and all the checks that they supposed to be making through the course of the game. Or maybe this guy on this side missed the block and I had to improvise. You don't know. You want them to get going, so all you do is go over there and try to fire them up. That's why I say the onus in that situation is on a veteran receiver or offensive lineman who knows. Offensive lineman, like the center, is the quarterback of the is like a quarterback being out there, the offensive line, I mean the center. So he would know where things fell apart. He's the guy that can go grab his quarterback and say, hey, nah, this is what, hey, you ain't step up here, or you didn't do this, or a receiver can say, hey man, get me the ball. Like, what's going on? Like, those 2 guys are the guys that can put fire on the quarterback. Outside of that, you're gonna be more of a distraction because you really don't know what to hammer home. Like defense, you can yell about being aggressive, hit somebody, tackle, like all those things. Quarterback is like, bro, what's going on? I'm asking him more questions. Like, you all right? Like,
yeah. Looking at the remaining schedule, look, Steven, other than Kentucky, Texas A&M, Mississippi State's undefeated right now. Then you got to play Georgia, then Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State.
Hey,
tell me where I'm supposed to be optimistic, my man.
I mean, we already know it's the toughest schedule in the world or history of college football ever coming into the season. So, it was all going to be tough. Now, the way it's been shaping out, everybody doesn't look as daunting as it could have been on paper. So that's where the hope I get. And then just the way the defense have played as a whole right now and the way they showed up against Miami, one of the probably the top offense they're going to face all year when you add in that offensive line and the way they can lay on you and stop you from getting to the quarterback. So I think that gives us some hope in the fact that we really haven't shown nothing offensively. So if it gets going, who knows how hot it can really be, because we haven't shown anything to. So that's the only glimmer of hope. It's a daunting schedule, but I think on paper it looks tougher than what people have shown. You're gonna have some bad games by some of those guys. We've seen Art struggle coming into the season. He's trying to get juiced up. They playing a little cupcake teams that he could do it with. We haven't, we didn't get as juiced as we could, but it's definitely going to be a nice challenge for us to see what we're truly made of. I'm hoping for last year to happen where we turn it on and after the bye week and it just smooth sailing. Hey, listen, we went out. We only got 3 losses.
I
Playoff
know.
still.
I know.
far fetched,
I
but
get it. I get it. I get it.
very
I had
far.
a lot of optimism going into the season. Look, a couple more things and I'll get you out of here.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't like about Billy and his pressers is the ho hum attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spurrier had like this the cockiness.
Yeah.
You know
So,
what I
yeah.
Who else? Look, Muschamp was fiery.
Yeah.
Urban had that fire. He
Yeah.
lit the fire under people's asses.
Yeah.
Bill McElwain, he was, you know, but with Billy, it's like, okay, we lost. We could have done this better. This is
Yeah.
what we need to improve on. I don't see any passion, Steven. I don't
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that. Like, ugh.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's tough. I spoke about that 2 years ago, Tennessee game, when we went and we were up at halftime, and I'm in the locker room, and those guys are hyped. I'm getting them hyped, like, yeah, no, we gonna come back second half. We gonna smash those guys. Like, still focused on what we gonna do, but still keeping them amped up. Like, this game, you gotta have emotion, man. You gotta play with some fire, some energy. And he came in and he saw that, and he was like, hey, what do you guys? You guys haven't done that. Like Buzz killed the moment, but in retrospect, I look back and I understand he knew his team, and he probably felt like, hey, these guys are not mature enough for him to talk like that and still be effective. But at the same time, you got to go with the hot. When it's on fire, you got to let these guys be fiery. You know what I mean? You don't want to put that out. And I understand you may know your team, but this is Tennessee. We're trying to finish this second half. You may think your team not ready, but in this moment, they ready. Look at them, coach. They fired up. Let them go. Do what they doing. So emotionally, I think he think too much as a father sometimes, and he doesn't let his competitive side out enough. He's trying to be so calculated and control the situations, but sometimes you just got to let it go. You know what I mean? Tell us what it is. Just be honest. And I always thought that was a fault of his a little bit, because when things are not going right, you're like, hey, no, we drilled this in practice. We drilled it in practice. He messed it up. We're going to get him right. But people want to know that, hey, if you're going to say it's not you got to let us know that, hey, no, this guy just, and it's not putting it on your players or nothing, but you're holding them responsible and accountable and letting people know that, hey, if you mess up, I'm not going to be afraid to highlight it. Like, hey, we drilled this a million times. This kid messed up. You know what I mean? Because other than that, then people feel like you're not doing your job, or you're too soft on them, or you're not holding them accountable, and they getting away with too much. Because I know if I was a coach, and you hear the noise, oh, this is not working, and hey, no, it works. It worked in practice 1,000 times. He just didn't, you know what I mean? You gotta, at some point, you gotta say something, and I don't think he says enough.
Is he the head coach beyond this season? Do you think he makes it out of this season? I know you're close to the program.
There's a route. There's a route to make it out this season. Well, it's a lot of money involved right now. We're talking, and then
I know
portals and NIL. It's way too many variables for me to say definitively what's going to happen, and that's the only reason. Like, I don't like to get ahead of myself, as a fan, just talking on things, and none of it comes to fruition. A lot of people, Steve, you gotta say fire, Billy. I can say fire, and then he come back next year. Then what? Like, what's like? So I don't know those that deep of the ins and outs. What I tell you, we lose to Mississippi State. There's a chance that he won't be back next year. Yeah, I think any five losses, 6 losses, there's a chance he might not be back next year. Anyway, we already at 3, right? Yeah. So 1 or 2 losses away from, but I just don't know, with the amount of money, $20 million still looming out there. What coaches come with that? There's other coaches that just redid their deals, So whoever
Yep.
you're bringing in, are you saying, well, you can come in, but you have to keep these other coaches because we just gave them contracts too. Because if you want us to clean
Yeah.
house, then we have to pay for all those other coaches as well. So I think a lot goes into it. I tell you, if he comes back, I know there will be a clause. Fans will I ain't gonna say what they would do, but
I
if you don't bring an offensive coordinator with him and he comes back, I just know the fan base is not going for that. That's not me personally, but just the temperature of the fan base, there would have to be some type of clause in there to say you're returning, but we getting an offensive coordinator. Yeah, but I don't know
I mean,
how good that does how much good that does at this point in his tenure to say on your last year, possibly ever, bring in an offensive coordinator. I don't know how that works, so I can't really say.
his record speaks for itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
The resume
We
speaks
know
for
we
itself.
closer to being out the door than in the door. That's one thing we know for sure.
Your thoughts on the Florida Gators' annual opponents, Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina? I get Georgia. I don't get Kentucky, and I don't get South Carolina being
Yeah,
3 annual opponents. I thought it should have been Georgia, Tennessee, and maybe Auburn or LSU.
yeah. The Georgia for sure. I knew it was
Yeah.
going to be there. You can't get rid of that
Yeah.
Georgia Florida game, and
Yeah.
I think we get South Carolina just by proximity.
Mm-hmm.
And then them being an original SEC East opponent, you want to
Right.
keep some of that history. And I think that's the only reason how Kentucky snuck in there. And
Mm-hmm.
also, you don't want to saturate your mandatory opponents to where it's too tough for you, where you have a schedule like we have this season. You know what I mean? So you can almost think Georgia's going to be in the upper echelon of the SEC always. So, and then that's our mandatory game. But I would have liked the Tennessee matchup
Yeah.
because that has long, rich history. And then you
Yes,
could
it
have
does.
anybody else you could have tossed around, but I knew for sure we was going to get to Georgia. The South Carolina and Kentucky don't it's not favorable in the eyes of people as far as the matchup. But we're going to get other great SEC matchups. But as far as our mandatory, it's not favorable in the eyes. The only one favorable is the Florida Georgia game. But I would have liked to take the Tennessee to make sure we're playing Tennessee every year to strengthen uh, that rivalry because it's a great one, and we've been doing it for a long time.
I got 4 coaches for you that
Who you got?
will replace Nick here on my
Let's
list.
start at the bottom.
Well, one would the bottom would be Drinkwitz and Missouri. He's a
Okay.
winner. If he can win at Missouri, then Matt Campbell, Iowa
Okay.
State, doing things at Iowa State that without the resources. And then my top 2, if Dabo's unhappy at Clemson, he's got the fire, he's got the passion. We'll take him. And number 1 on my list, that will probably never happen. Bring Lane Kiffin over here.
Lane, look, listen, yeah, Lane's been at the top. A lot of people list. I know last year, I was on the Lane train. If it was going to happen, I would want to see it. I just laugh now because Lane's so funny, man. I know he's controlling his social media. It's him. It ain't nobody, no French person, because you wouldn't allow somebody to play that close on the edge and not be you. I just don't know if Gainesville fans can handle that Lane. Because if you're going to do that, Lane, you better come in swinging and winning. Because with how you like to play on the internet, Gator Nation, boy, they would chew you up. If you own you, they would make you put your Twitter down. Lane, you got Ole Miss is nice, but Florida will definitely try to. Oh man, if it happens, come in winning right away, Lane. Don't come playing because Gator Nation is relentless, especially if you like to engage on social media. They will definitely be on them. But I'm not mad at your choices. They all sound good. You know, Dabo. I think it'll allow him leaving there, allow him to change his philosophy. You know, he hasn't been in the portal. He wanted to do it all from in-house and all of that. So, but when you go to a new team, ain't no in-house no more. You come in, so it's like, hey, I want to be that loyal coach, but hey, this portal kind of good. Let me get over here and just start changing stuff up. And I can say it's not because I'm not loyal; it's because I changed schools. So I think
Well, the
he
only reason
understands.
the only reason I bring up Dabo is he built an SEC program in the ACC.
And the ACC,
Now,
for sure.
I know they've fallen on a little bit of hard times, but if he comes to Florida,
He know the
he
formula,
would have probably better resources.
for
I'm not
sure.
saying Clemson doesn't have fantastic resources, but he would have to dip into the transfer portal.
Yeah.
He would have to, because his way of philosophy right now is, well, the players in the portal aren't good enough to play at Clemson, and now it's coming. Because look, when I look at Clemson now, Stephen, now I see fight in Florida defensively. Offensively, I'm not seeing too much fight. With Clemson, when you look at Clemson right now, it looks like they're just a battered team. It looks like they've just
Giving up.
completely given up.
Yeah.
But I think Dabo's message at Florida, he's got the passion, he's got the fieriness. He would just sort of have to curtail his philosophy more to look, NIL's here to stay. We're not closing that box. And the transfer portal's here to stay. Although now they've changed the transfer portal rules to just January now.
Yeah.
But still, he could win at Florida with his
Yeah.
philosophy now. He just has to curtail it a little bit. That's
No,
all.
for sure. I believe he can. I believe he can. I believe it allows him to embrace the new side of this football. Being at Clemson kind of has him in this box right now where he's kind of forced to be traditional. I think he's one of the last coaches that has this traditional thing going. And I think the change would be good for him, but he'll be one of the last coaches that ever hold a position at a school that long, just doing it like that. It's gonna be a lot more turnover. Maybe 4 or 5, but nobody will be going 10 years at one school as a coach. It's just not gonna happen anymore. It's gonna be a lot of turnover because it's gonna be too demanding to stay like that. You have to be on the road recruiting heavier, and these guys are getting older. You got to be a lot more vibrant to handle this strategy. And you have to be a lot more direct with the kids. The fatherly role is going to slowly go out the window. They're going to have to need regular mentors for that. Your head coach cannot be your coach and mentor. He has to crack the whip, and you got to go see therapy somewhere else if you need somebody to talk to you about something going on, because I'm here to make sure you do this thing, because we're paying. Winning is all that matters right now, and I got to be able to fuss you out, cuss you out if need be, without worrying about if I hurt your feelings. Because if you got to worry about that, you're not going to have a winning team, because they're getting too much money to be baby.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Stephen Harris, Florida Gator extraordinaire. Part of that
Man, Ryan, appreciate
2007. Yeah, man. Look, I'm going to wait and see what happens. I have sort of boycotted this whole thing just from the standpoint I can see where this is headed already, Stephen. I'm trying to be optimistic as anybody, but I just think he's just lost the team. I don't think his message resonates. I don't think he has the right demeanor, the right passion, the right attitude. And I'll say this before you leave. I've said this for years. I thought when Bob Stoops stepped away from Oklahoma and he went off to do broadcasting for a little bit, I thought the Gators should have went to him and opened up the checkbook and said, Bob, come on over, because he knows the culture. He was a defensive coordinator there. They love him in Florida. But look, Bob's been out of it too long. Look, Nick Saban got out of it because of NIL and the transfer portal, because Nick Saban doesn't even want to deal with that.
That tells you a lot, right?
Yeah. So I'll have to pick your brain in the next 3-4 weeks, man. We'll see where we stand then.
Hey, man, I'm here, man. Anytime you want me to pop on, man, I got you. It was great talking with you, man. Love what you're doing, man. So anytime, bro.
Yes. Go Gators, man.
Go Gators, boss.
All right. Have a good one. There it goes. The Gator Shop. Have a good one, man. That's Stephen Harris, ladies and gentlemen. Look, the Gators, I can just see where it's headed. I know Stephen's being optimistic. He's still heavily involved with the program, but I've seen enough out of Billy Napier. He doesn't have the demeanor. He doesn't have the passion. He doesn't have the attitude to be the Gators coach. Will Muschamp did. It's just he was a defensive guy. Even some of the Gator defenses under him were good. Just offensively, they weren't good. They need to bring in a coach that is almost like a GM now. That's really what, like Bill Belichick in North Carolina. bring in a high-level coach as a GM, hire a great offense coordinator, great defense coordinator, great coaches across the board, and then just see where it goes. So, but thanks to Stephen Harris, thanks to Harry Mays for coming on. There's one thing left to do, finally. Ladies and gentlemen, Dandy Don, take me out.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night, the party's over. And tomorrow and next year starts the same old thing again.